Another team, it's certainly looking well for Matt, is the Limerick senior hurlers who are flying it. I mean, we were both in the Gaelic grounds on Saturday evening, and first of all, it was a joy to see, Tipp to an extent. I wouldn't be a massive Tipp fan, I won't lie, to see them, go at Limerick and try their hand and give as good as they got for 35 minutes. But talking from our view up in the stand, I don't think there was much fear, Matt, for the second. I think that's fair to say. And within 10 minutes, we knew exactly why. Because when this Limerick team gets going, there is nobody that can live with them.
Jack, at this stage, we're nearly out of adjectives. But we'll
Nearly.
stick with the tried. We'll stick with the tried and trusted. Awesome. I thought that the second half was just simply awesome, Jack. Some of the creation of some of the scores, Jack, they were simply magnificent. And you're right. The Tipperary were a joy to watch in the first half, but they
Yeah.
got loads of space, and they were able to build from the back. And fair play to Barry Hogan. He has taken a leaf out of Nicky Quaid's book with a very, very good puck out. But still a bit to go, because considering if you remember one particular incident that I'll single out, Nicky pucks the ball out to his right, Tom Morrissey catches it and over the bar. Straight into Tom's hand, so
Straight in
like,
Tom's hand on the move. He didn't even break stride. He just it was he's like a quarterback, is Nicky Quaid. He puts it into where you're going to be, He doesn't put it where you are. It's where you're going to be. And fair play to Tom for catching the ball on the run and firing it over. But the suite of skills that these Limerick
but
players have, like Keane Lynch's score, I don't know if he's first or second, but 6 players involved, the length of the field doesn't touch the ball,
yeah,
doesn't touch the ground once. I mean,
yeah.
the one where Colin Coughlin gets it, gives another pass, and is onto and then off the Keane. Just,
Yeah.
I don't know, Matt.
Just
I don't know what you say about him anymore.
it's just unbelievable stuff, Jack. But a joy to watch, and that's the point I'm making. That Limerick supporters will enjoy it, but hurling fans everywhere should enjoy this kind of thing. You know,
Yeah,
this type of stuff for this kind of a team only comes once in a generation. Like so, um, you know, but look, well, I'm just stuck for words, Jack, for the second half now. Um, Full credit to Tipperary in the first half, but you're right there when you say like that. At no stage was there worry that Limerick were going to lose, even though when they were
no.
5 6 points behind, because you could see very clearly the things that weren't going right for for Limerick, and you feel very confident that once John Kiley and Paul Kennett got the lads in at half time, that would all be rectified, and by God, sure it was. The space that Tipperary were getting was suddenly closed down in the 25 minutes after half time. And it mirrors in many ways the Munster final of 2021, when
Exactly.
when Limerick made that dramatic comeback, from a greater deficit that day. But they outscored Tipperary 112 to 4 points in the 25 minutes after half time, Jack. And you'd have to say on the home straight in the last 10 minutes that Limerick probably stepped off the pedal a small bit.
Yeah, it's probably the only semblance of a downside to Limerick in the championship this year, that they've come off the pedal against Cork, against Clare, and against Galway below in Salthill, and now Tipperary. That if there is something you can catch Limerick on, maybe at the very start and the very end of the game, but what they do in the middle is incredible. And what I find with Limerick is they kind of seem annoyed when you take a game to them, like they did in 2021. They were like, "Grand, you're after upsetting us now. We're just going to turn it on," and just the players they can call upon. And Matt, there was there 5 or 6 all stars. There was 5 all stars on the bench. I think Darren Donovan then, who was a
Yeah,
late withdrawal, makes it 6. I
six
mean,
six all stars were not didn't start. Let's put it that way. But you're worrying there about the slow finish. I wouldn't be terribly worried about that now a while, Jack, because to me that's money in the bank. Because that is something that Limerick are going to rectify.
yeah, Oh, yeah, it will, and they have a league final to look forward to now against Kilkenny on the 9th of April, Easter Sunday in Páirc Uí Chaoimh at 2 o'clock. Stadium fitting for a game like Limerick Kilkenny, and probably needs more for Kilkenny. But we'll get into that game next week. We'll do an in-depth preview because obviously they have a rest week
But
this
I
week.
see an awful lot of the narrative in the last since it was announced about Páirc Uí Chaoimh, people giving out that it was in Páirc Uí Chaoimh and it was in should be in Thurles, and some even suggesting that it's in Croke Park. Jack, we should get on with it. You know,
Yeah,
um,
I think the main thing was maybe
you-
parking in the park is difficult, but
yeah,
look,
that's the issue. But Páirc Uí Chaoimh, is the finest stadium in the country outside of Croke Park. It's right up there with Croke Park.
oh yeah, 100%.
You know,
And look, it's
no,
Easter Sunday.
I know,
It's a day
I
out.
know there's a parking issue, and I get all that. Like, but um, I prefer all day to be going to our second city rather than our first city,
Yeah, I think Croke
except
Park
for
or Páirc Uí Chaoimh.
the All Ireland final, of course.
Yeah, please
And
God, we'll have a few trips.
I'm talking about the logistics of getting there now. When I say that.
Yeah, we'll please God, we'll have a few trips to the capital later on in the year. But
Hopefully.
before we go away from the hurling, because we will look at it in depth next week, you had from the team that started on Saturday evening now, Matt. Like, who comes back into that team for what? Not Kilkenny now, for Waterford on the 23rd of April. Like, so you had your team that started, then you had Kyle, Garrod, Dara, Shane Flanagan, Dan Morrissey, Rich English on the bench. And obviously there was more. Conor Boylan came on as well, did well. Colin Neal started these boys. Like, who has to come back in the team? And for who? Because it's very difficult.
Don't ask me. Don't ask me for who. That's above my pay grade now, Jack. Uh,
Yeah.
I I think Kyle Hayes has to come back into the team. Garrod Hegarty, Dara. Like, in fairness, Dara O'Donovan has been having a fine season, Jack.
Brilliant. Yeah,
Nice and quiet,
excellent season.
going about his business. Has been absolutely, totally consistent. Jack, I'll answer you by saying we leave it to John Kiley.
Yeah, we'll trust in John Kiley. I think it'll be the team that started against Cork in 2021 with a straight battle between Mike Casey and Dan Morrissey for that fullback slot. Obviously, Mike was injured at the time. So that would mean Peter and Keane coming into the team that started last year. But John Kiley now will have the luxury of at least 4 Munster Championship games where he can see what the likes of Cathal O'Neill, Colin Coughlin are at. Even you could give Conor Boylan a start. Rich English maybe gets a start. Barry Murphy has done really well in the league in midfield. Adam English and Shane O'Brien, depending on which way the Munster 20 Championship falls, could have their say. I mean, they're both going to be able to play the league final because they're out tonight. And obviously there's it's 7 days. You can't play 20s and senior within a 7-day period is the new rule. It's better. It's not perfect, but it's definitely better. So Limerick, I mean, I don't know. I don't envy John Kiley and Paul Kinnerk and Cunningham and Don Gradin, these boys, for having to pick the team, but it's better picking a Limerick team than another team.